My wife is pretty aloof. In 10 years of marriage, she never once said she loved me. Before I died, I found a love letter she'd been preparing for ages, but the name on it wasn't mine. Turns out, she was just cold to me. When I got a second chance at life, the first thing I did was call off our engagement and helped her deliver the letter. She got so mad her face turned red. It was the first time she ever yelled at me. "William, who asked you to butt in?" About an hour before the elevator accident, I found an old, yellowed love letter in the attic. The handwriting was familiar, so was the signature, but the name at the beginning wasn't mine. This was a love letter Lisa wrote to another guy. As the elevator plummeted, all I could think about was how I never found out who she truly liked, what he looked like, and if he was way better than me. When I woke up again, the sun outside was blinding. I was a bit confused, and my buddy Tim sighed beside me. "Finally, you're awake. You scared the hell out of me, but luckily, someone around you reacted quickly and got you to the nurse's office." I looked at the guy in the high school uniform and couldn't quite process it. 17-year-old Tim? The warm touch on my hand told me it wasn't a dream. I was really reborn. I heard footsteps approaching from the door, and a figure appeared from the light, standing in front of me. "You okay?" Lisa looked at me blandly, holding bread and milk. The memories all flooded back. Right, that day I overslept and missed breakfast, and during the morning exercises I fainted from low blood sugar. Lisa handed me the food and watched me eat. That morning, Lisa had a physics quiz, but she skipped class because of me, and the homeroom teacher ended up scolding her. 17-year-old me was still wrapped up in the fantasy of her worrying about me, but my 32-year-old mind now understood that Lisa only took care of me because she promised my dad she would. Lisa's dad was my dad's comrade. After he sacrificed himself, Lisa's mom took the compensation money and left. Seeing Lisa all alone, my dad took her in. Because she was taken in by my family, she always listened to my dad and never dared to go against him. From that day on, Lisa became my little sidekick. Everyone whispered behind our backs, teasing that I had an obedient childhood sweetheart. Later on, my dad joked with Lisa about marrying into our family, and she stayed silent. I thought she was just being shy back then. Now I realize I was just dumb. During class, I couldn't focus and kept replaying the memories from my previous life. I didn't want to mess up Lisa's life again. Maybe if we didn't get married, she'd be happier, and I wouldn't end up dead. During the evening self-study session, the teacher kept us back for 10 extra minutes, and when class ended, the students rushed out. I packed my things and saw Lisa standing at the door, waiting for me, looking down at her mistake booklet. The light shone on her, making her seem even more solitary and cold. We walked out of the teaching building in silence. Lisa was always like that, distant, indifferent, as if nothing really interested her. I stopped suddenly, looking at her fading figure. "Lisa, you should go on ahead. You don't have to walk with me anymore. You don't need to wait for me from now on either." "Why?" "No reason. You're free, Lisa." I headed towards the alley behind the school, planning to buy some practice books to improve my poor math skills. The person behind me caught up, asking coolly, "William, what's up with you? Did I come too late this morning? Or did you not like the milk?" It was the only flavor left at the store. The moonlight cast a cold light on her. I tried to explain, "It's not that. With college entrance exams soon, everyone's time is precious. You shouldn't waste it on me. I have to work hard too." Lisa stood frozen, probably the first time hearing something like this from me. I used to love being around her. I didn't get into college, but she did. She stayed in town instead because of something my dad said. I naively thought she liked me, just didn't say it. She must have regretted it, that was her dream school after all. Lisa didn't follow me. I picked out a few suitable practice books at the bookstore and grabbed an essay book. It was only when I went to pay that I realized my money was gone. I wandered the store again, puzzled. Couldn't find it, no idea if it was stolen or dropped. I sighed, ready to return tomorrow, and turned around into someone. "Oh my gosh!" they exclaimed. A comic book fell from their hands as they tried to keep their tray of barbecue safe. "Sorry, is you again?" A familiar, amused voice. I looked closely, And it was Nancy from college, a close friend. Why was I running into her now? What a coincidence, buddy. This morning, my friend and I got you to the nurse's office. You all right now? Huh? Oh yeah, I'm fine. Thanks. Only then did I realize I had this happen chance with her in this life. I didn't know that before. Nancy picked up her comic book and, seeing me hesitating, took my books to pay for them. I saw you going around the store earlier like you were searching for something. Did you lose your money? I quickly nodded. This girl would study forensics in the future for a reason. Her observation was spot on. I said I'd pay her back tomorrow, but Nancy just waved it off. Just treat me to a meal tomorrow. We left the back alley as the night emptied the streets, the only sound coming from a few passing students. I saw a group of delinquents smoking up ahead and turned to say I'd walk her home. I went to get my black motorcycle from the garage. I dropped her off in front of her building, and the roar of the engine finally ceased. She worried about people upstairs throwing trash down and told me to keep it down when leaving. Back at my place, I unexpectedly ran into Lisa at the entrance. Weird, wasn't she supposed to be back already? How was she slower than me? We took the elevator up in silence. The air felt tense for some reason. The doors closed, and she suddenly spoke. Is that girl your motivation? No, we just ran into each other. Well, what a coincidence. She said it casually like she didn't really care, so I didn't bother explaining further. Back home, Lisa would finish her homework and then take a shower. While she headed to the bathroom, I sneakily went into her room and found the love letter. She always hides things in the same spot, under a pile of books, so it was easy to find. I opened the letter, but for the life of me, I couldn't figure out who it was about. Could it be someone from her class? With how indifferent she acts, I doubt she could ever catch someone's eye. Maybe I should give her a hand. The next day, I went to school looking like a zombie. I stayed up all night trying to figure it out, but there's no one like that in Lisa's class. Math class was a blur again. Even if I got to do it all over, I'd still struggle with these problems. Seems like the gap between me and Lisa was never meant to be bridged. At lunchtime, I planned to ask Nancy out for a meal. Didn't expect to find Lisa waiting for me at the door, holding my favorite roast chicken. Didn't I tell you not to wait for me? Just do your own thing. She handed me the bag. Thanks, but you don't need to buy this for me anymore. Lisa looked at me puzzled, sighed slightly. William, did I do something to upset you? Lately, you've been avoiding me. It's not you, it's me. I've just come to realize some things. I walked towards the cafeteria, then turned around to say seriously, oh, by the way, when my dad joked about having you as my wife, I hope you didn't take it seriously. You don't have to listen to him. Lisa, good luck with your college entrance exams. Go to the university you dream of. Lisa frowned, puzzled about why I was saying all this. I reached the cafeteria, and Nancy had already found a spot for us. What's that? Nancy glanced at the bag in my hand. Roast chicken for you, as a thanks for helping me yesterday. Oh, you don't have to be so formal. Nancy waved it off but couldn't resist the aroma and ended up eating a drumstick. One thing leads to another. She was eating with such gusto. I was about to remind her when a cold voice interrupted. No wonder you dumped me. Are you two dating? Nancy jumped, almost choking. I turned to meet Lisa's cold stare. Felt like I got caught red-handed. No, we're not married anymore. Nancy noticed the tension between us and made an excuse to get water. No, I just met her. We're just classmates. I was telling the truth, but Lisa cut me off impatiently. No need to explain to me. I won't tell your uncle, so there's no need to avoid me. She said it coolly, turned away indifferently, a hint of anger in her steps. Nancy returned, quietly asking who that was. Judging by her nosy look, she probably thought Lisa and I were a thing. I briefly explained the situation, and Nancy understood with a knowing smile. Oh, she seems to care about you. Not really. Lisa would love to ditch me. Friday after school, Tim wanted to try new items at the barbecue place across the street, so he dragged me along. This barbecue spot has been popular forever. Lisa got my roast chicken from here. Tim ordered 2 servings of their special roast chicken. While waiting, I overheard staff say they were out of stock and were discussing with the owner. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a guy in a school uniform heading to the back. The owner's kid? His name's Nolan. I saw him in the English essay contest list before. He does really well, consistently in the top 50 in the grade. Yeah, he's entered lots of contests and he's connected with Lisa. No wonder Lisa often bought me roast chicken. She probably wanted to see someone special. Every time she bought it, she seemed really happy. I used to think it was because of me. A hint of irritation rose within me, but I shoved it down. To confirm if the love letter was about Nolan, I approached him as he came out. Hey, I'm Lisa's friend. She left something with you. Huh? Really? Nolan wasn't very suspicious. Rummaged through his bag and said, puzzled. She only helped me with 2 questions and lent me a math notebook. Shouldn't be anything left. So they do know each other. I recognized the familiar orange notebook. I bought that for Lisa. I used to ask her math questions, but she wasn't very patient. I felt embarrassed to say I didn't understand, so I stopped asking. Guess I remembered wrong. I'll let her know. Tim and I left. He eagerly handed me the roast chicken, but I had no appetite. Turns out, food tastes bitter when you're down. Not eating? Is it bad? Tim nudged me. Hey, what did you say to Nolan earlier? Nothing much. How did you know his name's Nolan? Tim glanced around, lowered his voice. A friend told me he's the owner's adopted son, so I remembered him. Now I know who the letter is about, and it's a load off my chest. Wonder what kind of feelings Lisa had when she wrote that letter. Kinda envious of Nolan. Thinking back to when I confessed to Lisa in sophomore year, what did she say? Oh yeah, she said she knew. Her tone cold and distant, like it was a hassle. At night, after sorting my problem sets, I planned to review some English vocabulary. My phone lit up. Nancy sent over a few documents. Nancy, my mom made these math quizzes. Give them a try and ask if you're stuck. Her mom is a coach for an Olympiad math class. It's like a bonus lesson for me. I thanked her with an emoji. Suddenly, the room door swung open. Lisa came in with a gloomy look. First time she didn't knock. Did you mess with things in my room? She didn't say what, but I knew. A wave of guilt hit me, and I took the letter out of the drawer. Sorry, I didn't mean to snoop. Initially, I wanted to play matchmaker, didn't think I'd get caught so fast. Lisa took the letter back, probably upset about her secret being exposed. Her face looked terrible. My heart felt heavy, but I mustered the courage to ask. I know who you wrote about in your letter. It's that guy from the barbecue place, right? If you like him, you should confess soon. He's so great. What if someone else snatches him away? With finals coming up, you can really pursue him afterward. Then you won't need to pretend you're buying barbecue for me anymore. Who asked you to butt in? She stared at me intensely, anger flickering in her eyes. I just want you to be a little happier. Happier? She scoffed. You get into a relationship and can't wait to pass me off to someone else? You used to say you liked me, seems you changed pretty fast. I was taken aback. Didn't expect her to take it that way. You don't even like me. Should I hang on a tree for you? I shot back, annoyed. Yeah, don't hang on me, I find it unlucky. She said coldly, turned around, and slammed the door on her way out. I bit my lip, determined. I swear, Lisa, I'll never like you again. For the next week, I didn't speak a word to Lisa. My dad thought we were just all caught up in studying, so he didn't say much. On the weekend, I went with Nancy to the library to do practice questions. She's better than me at school and can think through things more flexibly, often explaining stuff to me. When she got stressed out, I'd take her for a ride on my black motorcycle. Thinking about how we'd be best friends forever gave me a bit of hope for the future. Maybe I tried extra hard, moving up several ranks in the monthly exams. Dad got a call from my homeroom teacher and couldn't stop smiling. Lisa, who was making coffee, overheard and gave me a sly, impressive, "Dating didn't ruin your study. Right back at you. Didn't your crush on someone else not stop you from being top of the class?" I retorted deliberately, turned back to my work without looking at her sour expression. Countdown to finals, 1 month. That was when I was most focused, just questions and scores on my mind. No time for romance. June came with the heat and the finals on its heels. This time I was ready, feeling confident as I started writing. Even the last math problem that I'd usually skip, I tried, though I wasn't sure if I got it right. The final bell rang. The exam period was over. It marked the end of my high school life. As I walked out, I saw Nolan with Lisa. She seemed upset about messing up some questions and anxiously comparing answers. Maybe it's the eyes of someone in love, but Lisa was always more patient with him compared to others. I passed by them and headed towards Tim and Nancy. We planned to hit the amusement park, karaoke, and Six Flags, intending to have as much fun as possible. In the time before results came out, I was out playing every day. My dad stopped even trying to manage me. Funny enough, Lisa would call daily, asking when I'd be back. Sometimes when it got too late, I'd take Nancy home first. Lisa always got all sarcastic when she found out. Like today on my birthday, my official crossover into being 18. I got home past midnight, slightly drunk, with Nancy lazily walking me back. When we got downstairs, she suddenly called my name. William, can I spend every birthday with you from now on? It was too dark to see her face clearly, so I just thought she was marking the start of our epic friendship. Of course, you're my best buddy. I gave her a hard pat. She coughed, brushing away a trace of disappointment in her eyes. Careful, you almost lost yourself a friend. We laughed, and then we bumped into Lisa coming down to throw out the trash. She looked at us wistfully and grumbled. William, it's already past midnight. Aren't you coming home? Hey, let's go back. She's calling you. Nancy teased quietly, waving me off and reminding me to drink some honey water later. On the elevator ride up, Lisa kept on nagging. For the first time, I felt like she talked too much, like an old lady. Could you stop already? I'm back, aren't I? She stiffened, her tone odd. Annoyed? Didn't you promise to be home before 10? What if something happened? How could I explain to your dad? Today was an exception. Besides, I was with Nancy and others, no danger there. Even if I didn't come back, I still had a place to go. You think just because y'all are dating it's okay to run wild? Lisa got stricter, full of concern. I looked at her oddly. Why are you so uptight? She averted her eyes, silent. Inside, as I poured some water, she quietly spoke up. Why didn't you invite me to your birthday? Oh, forgot. Hadn't really. I just didn't want to mix today's happiness with memories of past unhappiness. Lisa lowered her gaze, went to the fridge to grab honey for me. Later, she handed me a blue box. Happy birthday. Thanks. I drank the honey without feeling the urge to open the gift. She hesitated a while, looking like she wanted to say something, then just went back to her room. I had zero expectations about her gift. Every year, she gave me anime character cards, the kind you can get from scanning QR codes on the street. I still had those cards lined up by my bedside. I absent-mindedly opened the box and froze. It was a hand-knitted little boy, with a cool backpack that resembled my younger self. Whoever made it was definitely a beginner. There were 2 visible gaps. Did she actually make it by hand? Well, this was truly unexpected. The day the test results came, Dad was with us as we checked. Lisa scored impressively high as always, 698. Seeing my own 622 score, I started crying instantly. Great job. I'm so proud of you both. Dad was teary-eyed and said we'd go out for a feast tonight. He took a screenshot of our scores, immediately flaunting it on social media. Hey, William, which college are you thinking about? When will you fill out applications? I'll stay local. I want to be close to Dad. And Tim and Nancy also plan to stay in state. Okay. Then I don't have to worry about you going to a place you don't know at all. In my last life, I didn't do well on my exams, so I had to choose engineering. This time, I can choose to study medicine. My mom passed away when I was really young, back when healthcare wasn't advanced. So I want to contribute as much as I can. Lisa saw her scores and didn't seem surprised at all. Nolan's score is probably about the same as hers, so they might end up at the same university. That's nice. While my dad was on a call, Lisa suddenly asked me, "You're staying here mostly because of Nancy, right? Do you really like her that much? What does it matter to you?" I'm kinda annoyed with her now. Feels like she's controlling more and more these days. Lisa stared at me, her look was less indifferent than before. William, if you just say the word, I can stay here in the province with you. No need, your scores are so good. Staying here would be a waste. Better to go to your dream school. Nolan will probably get into that school too, you'll have company. I didn't give him the love letter. My phone lit up. Nancy was calling. I was about to answer, but Lisa grabbed my wrist, looking kinda angry. Do you not care at all? Care about what? Care about you? Who was it that told me not to hang myself on one tree to avoid bad luck? Obviously, her face turned pale as soon as I threw her words back. I shook off her hand and went to the balcony to take the call. Nancy's parents both work in the province, so she's staying here and even has the same aspirations as me. Great, we can ride bikes around together again. After that day, I didn't really pay attention to Lisa's moves. Whether she's chasing Nolan or not wasn't my concern anymore. Summer flew by, and I spent my days having fun with Nancy. Learning to drive and getting my license left me tanned. Lisa got her university acceptance letter and left for school without saying goodbye. Like she was mad at me. Being a med student is super busy. So much to learn. I was running back and forth between the library and lectures every day. Even when Nancy wanted to catch a meal, we had to schedule it. During finals, I stared at two thick bricks like books, feeling hopeless. Nancy saw I was looking gaunt and often brought me food and helped with my revisions. Why do you seem so chill? Don't you have to study? I asked her. I remember it all, she shrugged. It's only fair to envy everyone with a good memory. Maybe because Nancy often came visiting me, classmates started gossiping, thinking she was pursuing me. And I sensed it too, she did seem different with me. But Nancy acted the same as always, so I never brought it up. After exams, I celebrated Nancy's birthday at school, but I was still thinking about if I got those pathology questions right. Nancy looked at the candles and smiled. I don't have wishes, want to make one for you? William, don't be so burdened. From now on, my wishes are for you, will that make you smile? I tried to force a grin, not bothering with politeness. I hope I don't fail, I'm begging here. All right, the heavens heard you. She blew out the candles, her eyes full of fondness. When summer break came, I saw Lisa after months of no contact. She stuck with law school and seems to be active in debates and clubs, keeping herself busy. In the 2 weeks she was back, we acted like strangers, peacefully coexisting. Until Thursday night when Lisa went out with friends and came back late. I was almost asleep when I heard a stumble and crash at the entry table. I got up to find Lisa sitting on the floor, looking dejected. What happened? Drank too much. I was about to make her some honey water, and she suddenly grabbed my wrist. William, I ran into Nancy today. And? She said you two aren't even together. I replied nonchalantly, not sure why that annoyed her. Lisa suddenly stood and hugged me, her gaze filled with mixed emotions. Why didn't you tell me? Why let me misunderstand for so long? Is it fun to toy with me? Do you even realize She fell silent, her eyes on the verge of tears, and I just watched her, finding it ridiculous. Lisa, I explained before. You're the one who didn't want to listen. What right do you have to question me now? Silence. She seemed to recall a time ages ago in that cafeteria, seeing a girl next to William. She had to admit, she felt a pang of dislike then. That feeling lingered, growing deeper each day. Lisa wiped her eyes, mustering courage to look at me. William, I think I can't let go of you. Can you continue to like me? Many times before I imagined this scenario, but now it was too late. I can't. Why? She panicked, tightening her grip. Is it because of that love letter? I was being naive, couldn't tell the difference between liking and admiring him. I don't like Nolan. I just felt a kindred spirit. Really? But I never felt any liking from you. Just annoyance and indifference. Give me a chance. Let's start over. I'll make sure you feel it, please? She begged, eyes glazed with drunkenness, clinging to me like I was her last hope. I pushed away a few times, but she wouldn't let go. The more I resisted, the more impatient she got. William, I'm begging you, please like me again. She tilted up to kiss me, but I moved away in panic, shoving her hard. She hit the cabinet, and the thud shattered the midnight silence. Pain snapped her back to reality. Lisa let go, her eyes forlorn. William, I didn't want to hear her anymore and hurried back to my room. The next day, I tried acting like nothing happened, but Lisa looked guilty whenever she saw me. At noon, Nancy came to pick me up. We planned to watch the latest movie today. She dressed up nicely, wearing a floral dress. Opening the door, she noticed my grim look, concern in her eyes. What's up? You sick? Or just feeling down? No worries. I reached up to grab my hat, and she suddenly grabbed my wrist. There were some nail scratches, clearly from some external force. Who did this? She was on high alert, almost like a cop. I did it by accident. Nancy didn't believe me. Her gaze fixed on Lisa on the couch, and she stepped forward to question her. Did you hit him? Yes. Lisa had been watching us and was already at her limit. Nancy quickly went to hit her, and I was scared, grabbing her in a hurry. But Lisa seemed to find an outlet for her anger, grabbing Nancy's hair to fight. I panicked and shouted at them to let go. If my dad came home to see this mess, he'd be furious with us. Stop it. Can you both calm down? I pulled Nancy away and saw her face was scratched. A good future cop acting this impulsively? But Lisa didn't look much better. Nancy was trained to aim for painful spots, and Lisa's face was pale, though no marks were visible yet. Nancy avoided my glare, whispering, "The movie's about to start. Let's go." "What movie? You're hurt. Let's get you some medicine from the pharmacy." I angrily pulled her out, forgetting someone else was hurt too. Lisa watched us leave, sadly covering her face. I bought medicine and treated Nancy's injuries, and she winced in pain. Don't just hit people like that. What you learned is for protecting people, not fighting. She bullied you and you're defending her. Her eyes were wide, clearly upset. No, I'm defending you. What if she reported you? It'd affect your career as a cop. Nancy paused and then smiled, though it hurt. William, you're really worried about me. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. After the fallout with Lisa, she did nothing drastic again. But she seemed to really start liking me, trying to show it. Every holiday, she made me meals and gave thoughtful gifts. On birthdays, Independence Day, Christmas, she'd always be around at school. Seeing her tired from flying, with bags under her eyes, I thought she was wasting time, but she only cared if I was happy. For my senior year birthday, I was moving dorms to another campus. Nancy was interning at the police station, assigned to a case, and couldn't make it back for my birthday. Lisa cooked in the kitchen, making my favorite dishes. I was distracted, staring at my chat with Nancy. What are you looking at? Dinner's ready. Nothing, just wondering what Nancy's been up to, whether it's dangerous. William. Lisa's voice snapped me back, reminding me who was in front of me. You've been mentioning her since I got here. She looked frustrated but resigned. Oh, sorry. William, when will you notice me? Let's eat, this soup looks good. Lisa sighed, feeling she tried her best, but things never went back to the way they were. Late at night, as I was about to sleep, my phone lit up. Nancy, open the window. I quickly pulled back the curtain and saw Nancy standing outside, waving something glowing in her hand. I ran down, excited to see her. Didn't you say the mission might keep you? Yeah, but I couldn't help it. I promised someone I'd spend every birthday with him. She handed me the glowing bottle and a box with my favorite sneakers inside. The fireflies in the bottle twinkled in the dark. For you. Saw them on my mission, thought you'd like them. Thanks. I smiled at her, wanting to say more. Nancy, predicting something. She quickly cut me off. William, happy birthday. I understood her hesitation. Her job was unique. I swallowed my words, changing them. Thank you, I'm really happy. While Nancy interned, I pursued graduate studies. As Nancy climbed to team leader at the station, I started interning at a hospital. Seeing illness and death was emotionally tough. Until one day, the hospital received severely injured people. Nancy was among them. She had a stab wound in her abdomen, spleen damage, and severe bleeding. My mentor performed her surgery for hours before the operating room light finally turned off. I took a moment to visit her. She was pale, like she might not wake up. With red eyes, I silently prayed for her recovery. Late at night, while studying neurology at her bedside, I saw her fingers twitch. Looking up, I met her gaze. "William, did you save me?" "No, it was my mentor. I just helped a bit." I checked her vitals, asked if she felt dizzy or nauseous, and after noting it down, I relaxed a bit. "You look so professional now." Nancy smiled, her eyes bright. "Well, I've been studying hard for years, so I can count on you then. Don't talk nonsense. I don't want to see you in a hospital again." She chuckled, her hand lightly brushing mine. Hesitating a moment, she didn't grab on. A nurse came to get me for rounds, and I left with some instructions. Life went back to being busy as usual. Nancy stayed in the hospital for a month, with many colleagues visiting. Every time I did rounds, her friends would give knowing looks, like everyone understood. But Nancy didn't show any signs at all. Even on the day she was discharged, she didn't say anything, just obediently called me doctor. I handed her the medication, clearly outlined the instructions, and tried to feel her out. "Hey, Nancy, don't you have anything to say to me?" "What? That I'll follow doctor's orders?" She played dumb. I gave a helpless smile. In the years that followed, Nancy was often sent on assignments, traveling all over the country, and sometimes she'd be out of touch. Lisa was still as remarkable as ever, graduated, joined a top law firm, and became a top-notch lawyer within a few years. She's doing really well now, and every now and then she'd send me some strange but expensive gifts. Some I hadn't even opened yet. They're all piled up in my dad's study. The hospital is so busy, sometimes I don't even have time to eat. Lisa came by a few times, but we'd barely say a word before I had to rush back to work. Still, she never gave up. Whenever she could, she'd reach out, sending gifts or food to the hospital. Every so often, she'd get drunk and call me, asking over and over, "William, what would it take for you to like me? Could you just tell me? Why are you treating me like this? You were the one who liked me first. How can it just change?" I was wrong. I shouldn't have said those things. "Would you come back? Keep liking me, please? William, I really miss you." Nobody's feelings change instantly. In all these years we've been together, and in the 10 years we were married in my past life, she had so many chances to say she loved me. Since she never did, forget it. Just move forward. Time flew by, and I found myself at 32 again. In my past life, I died in an elevator accident this very year in December. I wonder if something will happen again this year. The ring of my phone interrupted my thoughts. Nancy's voice came through smiling, "Dar. William, what are you planning to get me for my birthday next week?" No idea. This girl pretended not to understand my hints all these years, making us something more than friends but not quite a couple. And now she's expecting a gift? She let out a low laugh. "They're planning to promote me at the office, which means fewer trips and I can settle down here in our province. Oh, and then, I played dumb too. Then I'll make my own birthday wish this year. It's a bit special. Do you think it'll come true? Why don't you give it a shot?" I acted cool, but felt a hint of sweetness deep down. The call ended as a nurse rushed over, saying the director was calling for an emergency meeting. I quickly grabbed my notebook and headed over. The director said an 8-magnitude earthquake hit Tong City, and they needed people from our hospital to help. No wonder I felt dizzy earlier. It wasn't just my imagination. I was on the list and rushed to pack things, joining the team heading to Tong City. When we got there, all we saw was rubble and cries of sorrow. There was no time for us to be sad. We immediately jumped into action. Supplies were scarce, transportation was difficult, and lots of medicines weren't available. We all posted on social media for help, and Lisa responded right away, saying she could donate supplies. Me? Thank you. Lisa, how are you gonna thank me? Is this the only time you'll talk to me? Me gotta go, busy. Lisa, take care, and call if you need anything. Deep into the night, I was about to switch shifts with a colleague when a sudden tremor set everyone on edge. "Get under the table," my colleague shouted. Just as I took a step, the ground gave way beneath me. Falling dirt and debris followed the rupture. Then it all went dark, and I lost consciousness. The second quake wasn't as strong as the first but still caused major damage. I was trapped, pinned under rubble, unable to move. Time slipped by, my body going numb and my hands losing feeling. My throat was dry, too weak to call for help anymore. Surrounded by darkness, I thought about that moment of free fall in the elevator. Was it fate all along? Am I meant to die again? My phone lit up in my pocket, showing Nancy was calling, but I couldn't answer. What a shame. Reborn and still can't be with the one I love. Slowly, I drifted away, my body growing cold. From high above, frantic voices broke through. William, where are you? Felt like I slept for a century. When I woke, I realized I was back in the hospital where I worked. William, you're awake? How do you feel? Is anywhere hurting? Nancy looked at me, tears at the brim of her eyes. I shook my head. How's the rescue going? Are the colleagues trapped with me okay? They're all okay, everything's under control. You slept for half a month, you know that, right? She said, annoyed but relieved, clutching my hand like a treasure. Thank goodness you're awake. Her tears fell onto the back of my hand, burning hot. Did you rescue me? Yeah, I couldn't reach you, but our team was sent for the support mission. Thank you. Thank me for what? You saved me once. Now we're even. Nancy brought a doctor for a checkup, then bought me a nutritious meal and fed me like a kid. I was in the hospital for a few more days, with Nancy keeping an eye on me the whole time. On discharge day, I remembered Nancy's birthday. Proposals are really something guys should do first, right? I packed up discreetly and planned a surprise with some friends. In the evening, when Nancy arrived at the hospital, as she neared the entrance, rose petals began to fall from the sky. Before she could react, I dropped to one knee, the ring I'd had ready glittering in my hand. Nancy, I like you. Since high school, I've liked you. But I was afraid of holding you back, so I stayed quiet. Now, will you give me this chance? Nancy, will you marry me? Her colleagues showered her with petals, and mine cheered. She froze for a moment, her face turning red. With tears in her eyes, she nodded, shy for once. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure at the edge of the crowd. Lisa, holding a thermos, seemed flustered, a sheen of sweat on her forehead. She looked pale as she watched, disappointment filling her eyes. I do, Nancy shouted with a smile. The ring fit perfectly on her finger. Finally, I had waited so long. Nancy hugged me tightly and started crying with excitement. Wow, it's the first time I've seen the captain cry. What do you know, this is love. I'm so jealous. Is it too late for me to go back to high school? I don't want to die single. That night, I got a message from Lisa. Are you really going to marry her? William, I've been with you the longest, so why her? Can't you give me another chance? I deleted her message and blocked her. I turned off the phone and slept peacefully with Nancy in my arms. Lisa didn't attend my wedding with Nancy, but she did send a ridiculously expensive diamond. Nancy immediately gave it a snarky side eye, thinking Lisa wasn't over me. She then had the diamond set into a dog's collar for my dad's dog. A year into our marriage, Lisa was still single. Later, Nancy and I had a daughter and Lisa was still alone. Even my dad urged her to find someone as she had many admirers. She quietly drank with a somber look on her face. After dinner, Lisa peered into the cradle at the baby, pursing her lips. William, she really looks like you. Yeah. If only back then. She held back the rest of her comment, sighing softly. Nancy frowned, staring at her cautiously. What are you trying to do? He's my husband legally, so don't get any ideas. Lisa sneered, only legally for now. Life is long. You never know, maybe a divorce down the line. She thought bitterly, feeling a pang of jealousy. Why you? Nancy wanted to hit someone, but with our family around, she held back. On our way home, Nancy was so ticked off she seemed like she wanted to yell at every dog we passed by in the street. In the middle of the night, Nancy abruptly woke up and asked me, William, where did you put the marriage certificate? Why? I want to hide it. Come on, knock it off. I went back to sleep as she started rummaging through drawers, figuring out where to stash it. Chapter: I'm Lisa. From the first day at their house, I knew William and I would never be equals. Although his uncle was kind to me, If anything happened to William, I'd be blamed for not watching out for him. So, I always stuck by William to make sure he stayed out of trouble. Everyone said I was his child bride. I didn't argue because that's what it felt like. Being a guest in their house, I hated this feeling. By extension, I also disliked William. He always followed me, wanting to do everything together. I couldn't refuse, but deep down was resentful. I didn't want Uncle to think he'd taken in an ungrateful person, so I made sure to keep William happy. As we grew up, he became more handsome. I found myself staring at him, pretending to dismissively call him vain if he caught me. I didn't want to like him, didn't want to lose my last bit of pride. But in sophomore year, William confessed to me. I couldn't help but feel happy, but I suppressed it. My indifferent response seemed to let him down. But the next day he was back to trailing after me. One day he got sick. The medicine tasted awful, so he asked me to buy some chicken legs for him. At the barbecue place, I met Nolan. He had just dropped some freshly grilled wings by accident and was getting scolded by his foster father, called useless. If I hadn't been there, that man might have been harsher. I saw Nolan's cautious demeanor and realized we were alike. I often found excuses to go to the barbecue place to see Nolan while supposedly buying food for William. I stayed longer than necessary, enjoying a rare moment of peace, not having to cater to William and Uncle's feelings. Sometimes Nolan and I talked about our families. He always sighed but then studied hard like a resilient weed. I told myself these were the kind of guys I should like. Only he understood me. I wrote Nolan a love letter which I never sent. It felt unfair to him since my feelings weren't quite solid yet. Recently, William started acting strange, like he wanted to ditch me. Seeing him and Nancy together, I guess they were dating. Despite his words about liking me, he moved on quickly. Part of me felt relieved, thinking I'd finally be free of him. Another part, however, was annoyed. Why did he like someone else? Then I found my love letter was missing. Instinctively, I suspected William and confronted him angrily. He surprisingly didn't care, acting like my crush meant nothing to him. I was really ticked off. When it was time to choose colleges, I told William the first could stay. But he didn't care anymore. Enraged and frustrated, I went to college far away. I regretted it later. Without me around, Nancy was. William didn't bother with me anymore, always talking about Nancy. I hated it. I wanted to go back to the times when he only hung around me. But no matter what, we couldn't turn back time. Years passed, and despite rumors, William and Nancy hadn't married. I thought I still had a chance. But William was busy, and he barely acknowledged me. Even when I gave him expensive gifts, he didn't smile like he used to. I was terrified. When William had an emergency rescue, it broke me. I realized I couldn't wait any longer. I cooked his favorite soup but was too late. I totally regretted it. Nancy was right. I'd had plenty of time to keep William, but I hadn't acted, just drove him away. William, I hope you're well.